On August 31st, 1997, the world woke up to news that seemed entirely impossible. Princess Diana, the most famous and closely watched woman on Earth, had been killed in a car crash in Paris. The official conclusion from French authorities came quickly. They ruled it a tragic, ordinary accident caused by an intoxicated driver who lost control of a Mercedes while trying to outrun pursuing photographers. However, the technical details of the rescue effort and the crash site suggested a more complex reality. Look at this map. The physical distance from the tunnel to the hospital is only 6 kilometers, yet a full hour and 45 minutes passed between the crash and Diana's arrival at the emergency room. During that window, the ambulance actually stopped twice. Then there was the crash site itself. The Pont de l'Alma tunnel is a heavily monitored artery in the heart of Paris. Yet on that specific night, not a single surveillance camera recorded the crash or the pursuit. 10 months before she died, Diana wrote a letter predicting her own death. In her own handwriting, she claimed that Prince Charles was planning a, quote, accident in my car, involving brake failure and severe head injury, to clear the path for him to remarry. For millions of people, a delayed ambulance, entirely missing CCTV footage, and a literal handwritten prophecy were too much to ignore. They rejected the idea of a simple drunk driving accident, suspecting the crash was a surgical strike by British intelligence. To understand why the world was so willing to believe the British government would assassinate its own princess, we have to look at how her life actually operated behind closed doors. Her 1981 wedding was broadcast to 750 million people as a flawless royal fairy tale. Behind the scenes, the reality of her marriage was deeply isolating. In fact, Prince Charles had maintained an ongoing relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles. Diana actually discovered gifts and letters between them the night before her wedding. The resulting betrayal and public pressure pushed Diana into severe depression, leading to suicide attempts and a decade-long battle with bulimia. By 1995, Diana decided to break the silence. She sat down for an explosive interview with the BBC, openly exposing the affairs and the internal cruelty of the palace. The retaliation was swift. The couple officially divorced in 1996, and Diana was stripped of her Royal Highness title. Free from the palace, she began building a new life. By the summer of 1997, she was dating Dodi Fayed, an Egyptian billionaire and film producer. Photographs of the two of them relaxing on yachts circulated globally. The royal family reportedly viewed the relationship with extreme ideological disapproval. Diana had entirely escaped the control of the British monarchy, publicly humiliated the future king, and was now deeply involved with a prominent Muslim billionaire. For the theorists watching from the outside, the royal family had a clear, undeniable motive to permanently remove her from the picture. The events of August 31st provided the exact chaos needed to execute a hit. Diana and Dodi were dining at the Ritz Hotel in Paris, completely surrounded by aggressive paparazzi. To escape, their security team formulated a plan: send a decoy vehicle out the front door, while Diana and Dodi slipped out the back service exit. The decoy failed. A pack of motorcycles and 2 cars spotted the black Mercedes S280 and gave chase. The driver, Henri Paul, slammed the accelerator, racing along the Seine River at over 100 kilometers per hour. Dodi's father, Mohammed Al-Fayed, later alleged that Henri Paul was a paid MI6 informant. He pointed to bank accounts that had recently swelled with untraceable cash as evidence that the driver was on the intelligence agency's payroll. The assassination theory detailed a highly specific military operation. As the Mercedes rapidly entered the tunnel, covert operatives allegedly fired a high-intensity strobe light to instantly blind Henri Paul. Simultaneously, a white Fiat Uno deliberately clipped the Mercedes, forcing it off its trajectory. The car violently struck the 13th pillar of the tunnel. Henri Paul and Dodi Fayed died instantly. Diana was critically injured in the back seat. The first photographers to reach the wreckage did not call for medical help or pull her from the crushed metal. They stood at the windows and took pictures. A secluded tunnel, a chaotic high-speed pursuit, a delayed emergency response, and 0 camera footage. The sheer confusion of that night offered the perfect cover story for a surgical, state-sponsored assassination. The public outcry grew so loud that the British Metropolitan Police were forced to act. Under the guidance of Lord John Stevens, they launched Operation Paget, a 3-year, £12.5 million investigation. They forensically re-examined the evidence and interrogated over 300 witnesses to test 175 specific conspiracy claims. This chart shows the toxicology results from the driver, Henri Paul. The legal blood alcohol limit in France is 0.5 grams per liter. Henri Paul's level was 1.74, nearly 3.5 times the legal limit. Furthermore, the blood work showed high concentrations of prescription antidepressants. When combined with that volume of alcohol, these medications cause a severe loss of motor control and reaction time. He was physically incapable of navigating a tunnel at 105 kilometers per hour. The rest of the claims fell apart under scrutiny. Both French and British autopsies confirmed Diana was not pregnant. City maintenance logs proved the cameras in the Pont maternal had not been maliciously disabled. They were simply turned off for routine weekend servicing. Even the chilling letter predicting her own murder was reevaluated. Investigators spoke with her closest confidants and reviewed her psychological records. The letter was an expression of severe paranoia and isolation, a documented mental toll cultivated by years of highly monitored palace life. Operation Paget dismantled the assassination framework point by point. They replaced the allure of a secret intelligence operation with the cold, undeniable realities of forensic science and toxicology. After reviewing the evidence, the jury delivered their final verdict. The crash was an unlawful killing. The blame rested entirely on the gross negligence of a highly intoxicated driver, compounded by the reckless pursuit of the paparazzi. Underneath the geopolitical theories and the spy fiction, there were 2 young boys, Prince William and Prince Harry, who lost their mother to a completely preventable tragedy. The scale of the public grief was staggering. Over 2.5 billion people watched the funeral broadcast, and the public left an estimated 60 million flowers outside the palace gates. The decades of conspiracy theories persist because it is difficult to accept that a woman whose influence reached billions of people can be erased by a terribly ordinary, senseless mistake.